Hey guys, Dr. Ben here. Let's go over some questions and answers. You got questions? I'm going to try to come up with some answers. So you can think about it like stump me if you want, but ultimately, even if you are going to try to stump me with a question, I want them to be like legit questions of, why does the body do this? What do we do for that? How does the body repair from this? As opposed to, what should we do for a specific supplement dosage or things like that? We get questions all the time. People are asking, just had one this morning. A lady asked, I had high antibodies for thyroid peroxidase, high TPO antibodies, and those are Hashimoto's markers. And she said, does that mean it's positive or just high? And so for us, anybody over like 25 on your TPO antibodies, if it says positive, if it says high, if they're over 25, you have Hashimoto's. So it's not just it's got to turn into a full positive, but that's one of the things that we're looking at. Great to see you, Doris. Go ahead and pop down below where you guys are watching from. Pop down any questions you have. Mostly health related, obviously, but anything at all. And if you've got specific questions about what you have going on, I'll give the best recommendations I can without knowing your full case history. And go ahead and share any of our videos today, any of our posts, and we will be giving a book away, one of my books, every single day for the next couple weeks. We're about ready to hit 50,000 followers on our page. So, hey, Michelle there in North Carolina. So if you guys share it, we had Heather one yesterday, and I actually gave away 2 books yesterday. Hey, Michelle, great to see you. So, if you share with anybody, share any of our content today, Brittany will go through and pick out one of you guys and send you a book. So go ahead and pop down below, and we'll even do that today. If you ask a question on here, we'll pick one of you guys to send out the book to, either my blood sugar book or brain book, whichever you guys want. Hey, Amy, great to see you there. Hope you guys are well. So some of the things that we've been hearing this week, if somebody has had COVID, do they need the vaccine? That's one of the questions we've been getting, and there you go, Dallas, Texas. And so with that question, pretty interesting, because the research is showing, there's actually research that shows that they're kind of like super immunity at that point. And so some people are deciding that, hey, they've already had the virus and now they have antibodies, and they just want to keep testing their antibodies all the way throughout. So, if you're going to decide not to, I would say keep testing your antibodies if you've had the virus, but are concerned about how long that's going to last. We've seen people 12, 14 months that are still going strong there. So there is a question from Michelle. What can I do for pulsating tinnitus? So tinnitus, if it's a true hearing damage, if you've had concerts or used to work with machinery, whatever, then it's pretty tough to heal that tinnitus. But a lot of people, if it just came out of the blue, then that is usually going to be, look for toxicity, look for liver detoxification, any type of liver support that's going to help that body detoxify better. And there's a very good chance that tinnitus is going to get better. So check your AST, your ALT, and your GGT to see how your liver is doing. So give that a shot. Hey, Chris in Tennessee, great to see you. And Missouri, Penny, what part of Missouri are you guys in? Let's see what else we have for questions. Do you treat Lyme patients? Chris, so Lyme is tricky. Lyme is a tricky disease. There's still a lot of unknown. Lyme disease is a tick-borne illness, and it started, they originally found it in Lyme, Connecticut. That's a county out there. And I just talked to a lady in New York yesterday, and she's had it multiple times. Her husband, her kids, like everybody's had Lyme around that New York, Connecticut area. It has made its way across the West. People in Colorado are getting it. Very prevalent in Missouri. I moved my parents out here from southern Missouri a bunch of years ago, and I had 2 bullseye tick bite rings around my around those tick bites, and that was Lyme disease. I took 3 months of antibiotics, did not want Lyme disease, and I've never had Lyme symptoms since. But I know that if I get run down enough, if I get stressed enough, that Lyme will come back in my body. So Lyme, think about it this way, it's kind of like Epstein-Barr, it's like a shingles, some of those things. If your body is depleted enough, Lyme will be able to roar its head, and start attacking again and be prevalent in the body. And so just like everything that we're looking at, whether it's autoimmune or any other condition, you've got to get the body as strong as possible to fight off that Lyme infection. And so yes, we treat Lyme patients. We don't treat Lyme, we don't treat the disease itself. Yes, there's certain things you can do to kill off and all that, but if the host is depleted, if the host is not working as well as it should, you're not going to be able to reverse that Lyme. Just like if somebody's got chronic Epstein-Barr, if somebody's got, if they've got recurrent shingles, anything like that, you've got to fix as many systems as you possibly can so that the body is as strong as feasibly possible to fight that off. Hope that helps there. And let's see what else. Penny Ironton. I'm not sure what that means. Do you need to take magnesium for D3 to work best? So I guess it depends on what you're talking about for D3 to work best. If we're talking about bone and bone health, some things like that, potentially there is some research that shows magnesium really helps with that. But if we're just talking about getting blood levels of vitamin D up for overall immune system health, brain health, things like that, we have not seen magnesium make a difference of just building up vitamin D in the blood work. And then can Hashimoto's cause dizziness? So Hashimoto's itself cannot cause dizziness. So remember, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune to either the thyroid or the transportation of the thyroid hormones. And so low thyroid hormone around the body is basically the end stage byproduct of Hashimoto's. So low thyroid hormone, not usually a dizziness issue there. But people that have Hashimoto's also have adrenal problems. Adrenal problems are going to be a huge part of dizziness, especially changing positions. The adrenals give tone to your blood vessels, so when you go from squatting to standing up quickly and you get dizzy, that's usually an adrenal issue. So yes, people with Hashimoto's can have dizziness, and as you fix all these other issues that we're looking at when we're talking about Hashimoto's, the dizziness can go away. But in and of itself, just having Hashimoto's will not cause dizziness. It's all the other Y's that are causing that autoimmune and causing the body to attack the thyroid that are causing that. But remember, if you think you have Hashimoto's, you've got to know which one you have. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I've got Hashimoto's. And it's like, well, is it attacking the thyroid, or is it attacking the bus, or is it doing both? So we've got to do that. How to prevent nausea, vomiting after taking zinc. We talked about this. Check our video. Brittany, go ahead and pop down a link to that one. We talked about this earlier this week, where a zinc taste test or a zinc tally test. Take liquid zinc, swish it around in your mouth for 10 seconds. If you can taste it really, really strong, you probably don't need zinc. And that's what we see a lot of times. If somebody has nausea with zinc or vomiting, one, try a different type, different brand. Two, you may already have enough zinc. Then you think about quercetin or some other zinc ionospheres that are going to help bring that zinc across the cell membrane into the cell to fight off that virus. So it may be that you actually already have enough zinc. What's your best advice for healing vitiligo? Well, what is vitiligo? Vitiligo is an autoimmune disease. So autoimmune means the body is attacking itself, basically attacking the pigment in the skin. So you've seen people, they kind of have these blotches where it looks like they didn't get tan or the pigment went away. That's actually what happened. The pigment got attacked and destroyed from the autoimmune condition going on. So what's the best advice for healing autoimmune is really what that question should say. And that's where we get to. Brittany can pop down below video 2 on autoimmune, where I draw it out and we talk about adrenals, blood sugar, vitamin D up at 80, infections, leaky gut, estrogenic events, all these different things that are going to drive that autoimmunity, whether it's like my mom's MS. Remember, my mom had full-blown MS. She had to go on disability. She was down to a cane, down to a wheelchair, in bad place. And she started fixing all these systems that were out of balance to the point where she was able to reverse her MS, got rid of her wheelchair, got rid of her cane. She's 78 years old now. Her and Dad do granny boot camp. They watch my kids every Monday. They take my 10-year-old and spend 3-4 hours with him, and time that he'll never forget. She would be gone right now if she had stayed on that exact same path and had not gone to the thought of healing the body as opposed to the thought of trying to suppress the MS. She would have died. And yet she's here, she's vibrant, rocking it. She's going to be able to see my 14-year-old has a state playoff soccer game tomorrow. She's going to be able to go to that and experience life on a whole lot of other levels that she wasn't able to. So what do? We've got to get the body to heal itself. There's no amount of herbs or medications or supplements or surgeries, anything that's going to fix vitiligo, but your body can, and it can stop that damage. So no matter what it is for autoimmune, you've got to go down that path. Michelle, thoughts on why blood sugar reading for 2+ days was lower than ever, not dangerously low, but lowest I have ever seen it. So, a couple things. One, were you spiking up and dropping down? Sometimes if somebody's under a lot of stress, we'll see that blood sugar spike up. So if you have dinner and then have leftovers for lunch, the exact same meal, but you have a very stressful morning, had a fight with your spouse or a big presentation or something like that, that cortisol spike can actually make the blood sugar go up. We may see it dip down after that. Did you do any different exercise? Sometimes if somebody goes on a big hike or does a big workout, we can see that go down as well. So look for any changes that may have taken place in there. Melanie, great to see you in South Carolina. Let me know if you've got any questions. And what causes brain fog, bad gut? Does bad gut cause brain fog? So there is a huge gut-brain connection, absolutely 100%. There are more serotonin receptors in our gut than there are in our brain. It's a huge part of our fat-soluble vitamins are made in the gut. We've got that gut barrier is going to keep things out of the bloodstream. If they get in, it's going to cause a lot of inflammation, cause a lot of damage, stimulate autoimmune, all types of different things. So yes, bad gut can cause brain fog, absolutely. But brain fog can also be a low blood sugar state. It can be a high blood sugar state. Brain fog can be a circulation issue. You're not getting oxygen. Remember, the brain needs oxygen and it needs glucose. That's why we're so obsessed with blood sugar, but we're also obsessed with oxygen transportation in the body. Not just are you anemic, but think about this, the adrenals, they give tone to our blood vessels. That's why if somebody's squatting down, stands up quickly, they're gonna get dizzy because it kind of pools and that blood kind of settles down in the legs, doesn't get back up to the brain. So we need oxygen, we need glucose, but that bad gut absolutely can be a big part of it. So we gotta kill off the bad stuff, bring in the good stuff, heal up that gut lining, give enzymes, different things, that whatever we need to do to get that gut working as well as possible. Megan, IBS. So remember, irritable bowel syndrome, it is just that. It's an irritable bowel and it's a syndrome. It's not a disease. It's not like ulcerative colitis is an autoimmune condition that's attacking that. It's none of those things. It's just a clump of symptoms related to that digestive tract. So what do we have to do? We got to take a step back and fix up the gut lining, stop any damage that's going on, get rid of the bad bacteria, yeast, whatever it is, and balance out that gut, calm down the inflammatory process in the body. But can IBS irritate and cause brain fog, or can people with IBS have brain fog? Absolutely, 100% of the time. So we've got to get that gut balanced out. Let's see. And Ironton, Missouri, awesome. Yeah, my parents, they lived in Ozark County for a bunch of years down by Gainesville, and We had property there for a long time. Can you explain insulin resistance? So, hey Mary, great to have you on. Insulin resistance is going to be where from years of going up and down, up and down, up and down of blood sugar, there's a receptor on the cell, and insulin goes in and unlocks that door in the cell. Glucose goes into the cell, and then we can make energy. Oxygen and glucose make energy. This is why it's so important for the brain. Insulin resistance is when that receptor gets all funky and insulin can't go in there, but it's because it's been doing it over and over and over again, year after year after year. So insulin resistance is basically the beginning stages of metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, all these things. This is why we test insulin non-fasting. So if somebody's fasting, their insulin might be down at 7 or 12 or 15, something like that, but we'll see it at a lady yesterday, 99.9. I don't want it over 10. And so that's a very good indication throughout the day, just eating how she normally eats. She is going to have this spike going on. She's going to be having what's called insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is going to impair glucose getting into the cell, just like anemia doesn't get oxygen into the cells and into the brain. Insulin resistance is going to cause fatigue as well because you're not getting glucose into the cells. So if you have insulin resistance, you absolutely are going to be more tired than you should be. It just has to be there. You're not getting that in. Yes, Cynthia, that's a great book. Healing Lyme is helping herbal protocols. Wonderful. Let's see what other questions. What would be your advice on vaccinations for a 3-month-old boy who has a family history that includes vaccine reactions? And we're probably talking about just basic MMR, some things like that. So 2 thoughts, and again, this is personal preference on the parents and what you guys feel comfortable with. And I've seen some people that, here's the deal. My wife had her MMR booster going into college. And we went to Syracuse University. They said, hey, you got to have your MMR up to date. So she had her booster. 2 weeks later, she developed ITP. ITP is idiopathic thrombocytopenia. It's where the body is attacking platelets. Big bruises, platelet count went down to like 14,000, super, super low, to the point where they said, if you fall down, you might bleed out. You cannot fall down. And so they put her on prednisone. She gained weight. She felt horrible. And they said, well, you can be on prednisone the rest of your life, or we can take out your spleen. And so, like every good 18-year-old didn't want to be on prednisone, said, okay, take out my spleen. So they took out her spleen, didn't fix the problem at all. She still had this autoimmune type reaction going on in the body, still had this inflammation. And so for her, and even for the genetics with my kids, we have decided to not keep going down the road of those for her or for our kids. Just the unknown is very concerning for us versus even whooping cough or some things like that. Worst case scenario, we got to go to the hospital, got to get some IVs, antibiotics, whatever it is. So for us, that's what we've decided to do. It's a personal choice, and so we do things differently and working on the health of our kids way more than if we just kind of said, whatever, you guys will be fine. So that there's a genetic predisposition for some of these inflammatory issues. So some people will do that. Other people will space them out and spread them out instead of like 40 at a time or whatever the recommended protocol is. A lot of people will spread out or pick and choose the ones that they're really more worried about, more concerned about, that, oh my gosh, those, if we get that's going to be a big issue, then they'll go more staying away from the ones that they're not too concerned about, but the ones that they are, they'll do more of those. So hope that helps. But yeah, there's definitely a genetic thing to be looking out for there. And hey, Sharon, good to see you in Nebraska. And any other questions, pop those down below. California, Lori, great to see you. All right. Is there something natural to help with boils so it doesn't turn into a staph infection? Gina, great to have you on. So remember, anything outside the skin, anything type of skin reaction, it's one of usually two things. It's either gut or it's hormones. And so first place we always start is gut. So we've got to dig deep. We've got to fix that microbiome, look for any infections, look for bad bacteria, yeast, things like that. We've got to do kill off, build up the good stuff, and we've got to go through and really build that up to a place where the gut is in a really good state. We've got what we call leaky gut going on, where that gut lining is just not keeping the bad things out of the bloodstream. So, really start there. If you need to do some things topically, you could do some tea tree oil. Some of those natural oils have great antimicrobial to them to prevent that staph infection, but you've got to take a step back and figure out why you're getting those boils in the first place, and it's usually that gut, but it could also be the hormones. So if you haven't had hormones tested or dealt with any of that lately, that could be a big part of it. Hope that helps. Ulcerative colitis and Hashimoto's, thyroiditis. Maria, so I'm guessing you're asking, what do you do about those? Well, what do those both have in common? Remember, everybody watching out there, you should be able to answer some of these questions even before I answer them. Ulcerative colitis and Hashimoto's are both autoimmune conditions. So guess what? In over half the people that have one autoimmune condition, they have multiple. So what does that mean? Well, if you've got both of these going on, simple. We just take a step back and we start fixing the body and calming it down so that it does not have this autoimmune reaction anymore. So ulcerative colitis, pretty intense. A lot of people, we've seen people 20, 30 times a day bowel movements. And we've gotten them down to 1 or 2 a day, and they're feeling way, way better. So ulcerative colitis and Hashimoto's both are autoimmune. You've got to take a step back, just like the video that Brittany popped up there, talking about autoimmune and all those little steps that we've got to look for and the different systems that are out of balance, and we just go through step by step by step through that process. So it is a process, and it does take time, but people can reverse autoimmune all the time. The body is amazing, and they truly can heal. So if you've got any questions on that, Maria, DM us, and we'll go through some of those questions. If you do have any specific questions, remember we have our office in Nashville area, actually getting ready to open up our second one in Hendersonville, and we'll be hitting Denver by January as well. So we'll have our Fort Collins and our Denver, but we can work from anywhere in the country. We have probably 60% of our patients come in from out of state. So if you've got any specific questions at all or can't get the help that you need, let us know. Yeah, Michelle, maybe you did turn some big corner and that blood sugar is stabilized in there. That's awesome. Let's see. What does it mean if your HDL is lower than your LDL? That's fine. So HDL 60-ish is really good. LDL under 100 is good. So you do want those HDLs lower than your LDL. If your LDLs are really high and your HDLs are really low, LDL high over 100 is usually blood sugar, and usually blood sugar spikes. HDL low is usually you're not getting enough good fats, maybe not exercising like you need to, so you got to make some changes through there. And how long does it take old mitochondria to die and for new mitochondria to replace it? That's a great question. Most of the body and cells, red blood cells, regular cells in the body, even upwards of 3 months, and we're replacing and replicating these cells and then replacing the dead old ones. So the body is pretty amazing. We do our second blood work with everybody at 3 months, and we see miracles all the time in that. Even in the first 30 days, we're seeing people drop 10, 20, 30 pounds. We're seeing their energy come back, seeing their brain get better, their gut, all these different things. So, the body is amazing and can heal and replace those old cells very, very quickly. And again, if you've got any questions, pop those down below. I've probably got time for another 3 or 4 here. Misty Weird, you were about to say 2 thoughts, then the live video stopped working. Oh, sorry about that. If you need to ask me that one, what could spoon-like toenails mean for kids? So sometimes the spoon-like nails, it may mean they've got a little anemia going on, that they're not getting oxygen to their tissues. So I would check ferritin and then do a full iron panel on them. And if that's fine, you also want to check your red blood cells, your hemoglobin, and your hematocrit. And if those are low, but your MCV and your MCH are high, then, and not even just low in their range, but low in our healthy range, then it may be a B12 folic acid or a pernicious anemia. So remember, you've got iron anemia and you've got pernicious anemia. And the way you tell is that MCV and MCH. So if your iron's fine, but the MCV and MCH are high, that's usually a B12 folic acid. So check for anemias there. Let's see what else. Any other questions? Linda, granddaughter has COVID. She is 11 years old. What advice can you give me? Her PA was not concerned too much about giving her anything. So, unless she's like check pulse ox, keep an eye on that one. If she's under 90, then maybe a little oxygen would be helpful. But again, 11-year-olds, I mean, literally it's like a 0% chance of dying from COVID. We're basically, the kids that do under 18 are all going to have some type of cancer, some type of major immunocompromised state. So, a somewhat healthy 11-year-old, really not a lot of concern there. You could up vitamin D, you could do some C, zinc, some of those things. If you've got access to a sauna, you could do some sauna in there, and just keep an eye, use that pulse ox. Brittany, you want to put a link down below for that pulse ox, and you can pick one of those up if you don't have it. That's a great tool to see if that oxygen is going low. If we're down in the under 90, if we're in the 80s, that can definitely be a problem. Angela, you are so welcome. And Lorraine, you got a question in the back? I see your hand, but I don't see a question. Manuka honey and colloidal silver prevents staph from turning. So any of those topical things can be helpful, but you got to figure out why you're getting those boils. Tanya from Knoxville, Tennessee. Tanya, Knoxville. We'll see how fast we can be on track down there. February, we're looking at Knoxville, latest of March. So keep your fingers crossed, and we will be in Knoxville, Tennessee by this spring. Very high estrogen. Yeah, Gina, you've got to get that estrogen down. Figure out why it's high in the first place. Got to dim some of those different nutrients that are going to help pull that estrogen out. But you also check your testosterone and your DHEA. You might have this elevated state, and a lot of that is actually driven by blood sugar. So take a look at some of those. All right, Mary, thank you for the kind words. You're awesome. Yes. So give Angela some ideas there on the concerns that she has. That is great. Thanks everybody for helping out with those. And what causes ridges on the nail bed, especially on the thumbnail. Look for zinc deficiency on that one. That can definitely be part of it. Also look for that anemia, anything through there. Massachusetts. Yes, we're working as fast as we can. Time and money, those are the two biggest things, right? We're looking at bringing our model out to the masses. People need this type of care right now. We're only able to help people remotely in those places, but come this spring, summer, we're going to have the team in place to really start replicating a whole lot quicker. And the Northeast is definitely a place that we want to hit. There's Massachusetts especially. It's this indoctrination of that. We've got all these great hospitals and medical facilities and specialists and all that, but nobody's getting to that root cause. So we know you guys need us there in Massachusetts. So keep your eyes out, not keeping down food. And so two things: if he's nursing, mom has to go in and look at what she's eating. Probably needs to take out gluten, dairy, some things like that. If he's just doing formula, he's having a reaction to that formula, and he needs to nurse more if he can. and two, go on to some low allergenic type things. It's probably his microbiome. If he had a C-section, he didn't get all the good bacteria like he needed, and that gut just has not developed like it needs to. But this is the perfect case for somebody turning into autoimmune down the road. So you got to get it fixed up a whole lot faster. And one more question here. What can you tell me about Paris-Firmus syndrome? That's a great question. I'll have to look that one up. Have not had any patience with that. And what are your thoughts on wearing a sleep workout tracker 24/7? Yeah, the one, if you're worried about the long-term effects like that, is the Oura Ring is a nice one. OURA, Brittany, you can put a link to their website up there, the Oura Ring, and you can actually turn it off, turn off the Wi-Fi, or the Bluetooth, at night, so not actually going to affect your sleep, but you can turn that off, and then when you turn it back on in the morning from your phone, it'll upload all the information, so there's a little bit of a memory in there. I've got my Apple Watch on throughout the day. My wife has worn her Whoop, WHOOP. You can put a link on that one as well, Brittany. The Whoop, she's worn that band and she wears it pretty much 24/7, and she's really sensitive to things, and she's done all right with it. We haven't seen any issues through there. So hope that helps. All right, guys, I got to jump. Thanks for being on every Thursday, 8:30 Mountain Standard Time. Love having you guys on. If you've got more questions, pop them down below, and Brittany will be picking one of you today to get our book free. And share this also. If you didn't ask any questions, share it with somebody, and we'll be putting you in to receive that book. We're almost to 50,000 followers, so when that 50,000 follower comes in on that day, we'll also pick one of you for a full new patient exam, and you can do that in office in Tennessee or Colorado, or do that remotely. So make it a great day, guys. Stay strong.